So today's episode is specifically for you business owners that literally started from the bottom and now find yourselves at the top. I really want to dive into the 6 mistakes that you're probably making, and I want to help you not only uncover them, but I want to help you start fixing these mistakes when it comes to not only your business, but also your personal and building wealth. Join us today, dive in, let's have some fun. Welcome back to the podcast, you guys. As you know, my name is Jamil Frazier. I'm the founder of Think Life is Different. And today's episode, it really hit close to home because I think about the 6 mistakes that I not only made from really starting a business from scratch. Like I didn't buy a business. I didn't buy into a business that was already doing well. I literally had a little bit of capital. I started a business. I had no clients, I had no customers, and I had to go out and source and figure out how to get my first, client. And then from there, I had to figure out how to scale. And you guys know that not only did that happen, but it got to a place where, revenues really rose to over $3 million a month. So how does that happen? So that's good. But there's a lot of challenges that might come from that, especially because you probably weren't taught from the jump since you were a little infant and a little kid how to actually run a business like that. And just as important, what to do on the personal side with your wealth building plan and your money. So I just want to tell you a story. So I was working with 2 of our students, a husband and a wife, and the husband is in the construction industry. The wife had a small solo business as well, and the husband just all of a sudden his company just started crushing it. I mean, from revenues of several $100,000 a month of revenue, which allowed him to, in the last 3 months, be able to take home $40,000 a month, $50,000 a month, even $100,000 a month. And so that sounds good, but there is a trap that's in there. And today I really want to dive into maybe 6 of the traps that have happened and how you can start to avoid them as well. So let's really dive into, as I was working with them, I think that all of us would agree that if you're making literally take home $100,000 a month, that's pretty darn good, right? Like even if it was 20,000, even if it was $10,000 a month of take home income, $20,000 a month, 40,000, 50,000. One of the challenges and why I wanted to speak to you specifically as a business owner is most of the time you have no idea what to do with it and you haven't done anything with it. So let's talk about sort of their scenario and what you can learn to really build into your own as well. So, I think a lot of times when you start a business and nobody has really taught you, you may not have mentorship, you may not have coaching. Hell, you may not even have a financial team yet. There might not be a CPA. There might not be a financial advisor. There may not be a business attorney. You might not have any attorneys on your team in general. You might be in a business to where this is what grandfather did this business, dad did this business, now you're doing this business, and they're kind of retired from the business, and now you kind of got to figure it out on your own. Even though it's a family business, nobody's really sharing stuff with you, and the stuff they're sharing with you is like handshake deals that they did back in the 70s that you probably shouldn't be doing right now. So this is one of the things that start to happen to these clients of ours is you would think that what take-home income being as high as it is, that, we would have, a portfolio of real estate, or that we would have retirement plans, or that we would have some life insurance, or that we would have some brokerage accounts that we can either keep investing in or even take loans from, that we would have like a portfolio of assets and savings. That's not the case. And it typically isn't the case. And that's why I want to specifically talk to you today, because you own a business and your business is doing well and you're making good money, So let's talk about some of the pitfalls and how we can actually avoid them, okay? One of the pitfalls is if you're making good money, like these clients of mine, I almost guarantee you have something called a lifestyle creep. Do you know what a lifestyle creep is? So these clients of mine, I told you, they do pretty well financially. But also what has happened is every single month, their expenses has gotten higher and higher. Has that started to happen to you as well? So maybe our expenses start at $5,000 a month. Then we start doing better financially, and all of a sudden, man, we like to start eating steaks a little bit more. We like fancy wines. We like going out a little bit more with the kids. We like traveling a little bit more. We are flying economy. Now I might have to have fly first class or forget first class, man. I might just have to have a private jet. And so now our monthly expenses go up from $5,000 a month to $10,000, or maybe you're at $20,000 a month where my clients are. And listen, I've been at a place to where my monthly burn rate, my monthly expenses for my personal life were $60,000 a month. So I'm telling you that this is something that happens to people like you who start to make good money. Okay, so that's one of the biggest pitfalls that I see happen and that I want you to avoid as well is your monthly income. Now your lifestyle starting to creep and creep and creep and creep, and that's exactly what happens. So we want to avoid that, and we want to keep our expenses low, and we want to keep our investing high. Why? Because this business of yours, I congratulate you, is crushing it, it's doing well, but it doesn't mean that it's always going to be there. Okay, so there could be something that happens in the market. There could be a market fluctuation. And the business could be there, but it doesn't mean that the revenues are going to stay consistent. Your revenues might absolutely be crushing it, and then something happens within the economy itself that now those revenues take a dip. And when that happens, you want to make sure that you have other streams of income that you can pull from to keep that business going, to keep paying your employees, and to keep your lifestyle going, and to keep your significant other and those babies of yours very, very safe and secure. Okay. Number two pitfall that I see all the time is there's absolutely no emergency fund. There's absolutely no emergency fund. If we have, monthly expenses, in this case of my clients, $20,000 a month of expenses, I want to have at least 3 months of an emergency fund funded. I want to have at least 3 months of expenses in an emergency fund. So in this case, I need to have at least $60,000 sitting off to the side in case something happens, right? So whatever your monthly expenses are, let's just say it's $5,000 a month, I must have an emergency fund of at least $15,000 or 3 times your monthly expenses. Man, I am I'm financially secure, but I'm extremely financially insecure, meaning my emergency fund is not 3 months, is not 6 months, is not 9 months, is not even a year. My emergency fund extends to like a year and a half to 2 years. Why? Because I know that economies go up and economies go down. I know that the opposite of good is bad. And I know that the opposite of left is right, meaning things are going to change, right? And so you want to prepare yourself for any sort of big change that's happened. So unfortunately, in this case, my clients have no emergency fund. Like every single month, and I'll get into this in number 3, but we want to literally make sure that we're paying ourselves something from the business, right? Somehow this business revenue has to become personal income somehow, some way. Now, in this personal income, when I have this personal income, I want to make sure that whatever I'm paying myself, that I'm taking a portion of that, and that is going into an emergency fund. Okay, that is going into protecting me. And so oftentimes one of the biggest pitfalls is there's just no emergency fun. One of the biggest pitfalls that I see is there's no budget either on the business side, and there's no budget on the personal side, right? In our business, we're making money and we're spending money, but we're never managing that money well. And you cannot manage money well without budgets. Okay. On the personal side, I just have money that's coming in here from my business, but I have no management system. This money is just doing whatever it wants to do. This money is running you instead of you running it. This money is the Lord over you instead of you being the Lord over it, right? This money is controlling you instead of you controlling it. So it is literally just running amok. So even though you got a ton of money that's coming in, you got a ton of money that's going out because there's no management system and there's no budgets. Listen to me. You have to have structure on both sides of the aisle. I got to have structure for my business income, meaning budgets around everything. There's got to be a budget around marketing. There's got to be budget around payroll. There's got to be budget around advertising. There's got to be budgets around subscriptions. There's got to be budgets around travel. There's got to be budget around entertainment. There has to be budgeting around all these different areas so that I know exactly what's coming in and what's going out. Same thing on a personal. I got to have a budget around gas. I got to have a budget around eating out. I got to have a budget around groceries. I got to have a budget around kids' activities. Bro, we cannot just anything that comes up for the kids, we're just like, well, I'm just going to put them in everything. No, you got to control that. There's got to be a budget for that as well, right? Like there's got to be a cutoff point. Why? Because I got to keep more of this money so that I can use this money to make me more money. What's up, fam? I hope that you're enjoying this episode. Listen, I want to invite you to a 3-day experience that you will never forget. We call it Master Your Money Challenge. Let me break it down for you. If you're at a place in your life and in your business right now to where you're doing well financially, but you know there's an entirely different mountain to climb, I want to invite you to spend 3 days with myself and my team as I help you not just figure out how to make more money, but exactly in specific steps on what to do with it. Day 1, you're really going to learn how to get clear on what it is that you want to do, the goals that you have in the future, and then we're going to build your own personalized financial roadmap. Day number 2, you're going to build the 3 plans that have gotten me to making multi-millions in investing, to where we really focus on being safe, being comfortable, and building a plan for wealth. And then on day 3, we're going to dive in and really go through all the different investing vehicles, which is going to be best for you and give you the greatest maximum returns. Go ahead and click the link right here in the show notes, and we hope that you join us. We'll talk to you soon. I want to invite you to pick up my new book, The Freedman and the Oak Tree. Now, I wrote this for people who are in sales and business and coaching and consulting, or you just want to accelerate success in your life, whether that be in finance or even in investing. Now, it's more than that as well, because I wrote it as a historical piece. And so what you're going to get is this beautiful story of sharecroppers really taking something that's minimum and figuring out the 5 laws of leverage to turn it into something where they can leave generational wealth. If you're into beautiful stories, and if you're at a place to where you want to level up your career, your business, or your finances, you want to get this book. Now, the secret is also we are turning this book into a film, so you're going to be able to see it on the big screen as well. Go on and grab this book and share it with at least 10 other people. And there's going to be no way that I can do that if I don't actually have a management system to start budgeting in my business and in my personal. Okay. So one of the big pitfalls is we're not taking advantage of the tax advantages from having a business. In this particular situation, my clients are still operating as a sole proprietor. You don't want to do that. And listen, talk to your financial team, talk to your CPA. I just know that when I started my business, one of the things, and I'm so grateful for this mentorship that she told me, she said, Jamil, once you start making over $5,000, $10,000 a month in revenue, like you want to start thinking about incorporating your business. Okay. And that was at five or $10,000 a month in revenue. Like some of you guys are freaking still operating as a sole proprietor and you're doing $500,000 a month in revenue. When we do that, we're also missing out on so many of the tax advantages that you have, right? Like part of managing the money is so that we can get to step 3 in the financial journey, which is growing the money. If I'm paying sometimes thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to Uncle Sam, then I'm not keeping the money. And if I'm not keeping the money, then I can't use the money to make more money. And so there's so many more tax advantages by just moving out of a sole proprietorship and moving into a corporation, whether that's an S corp or C corp. Talk to your financial team. But I'm just trying to tell you, like, there's so much money that you might be paying out in taxes into the government that you could be paying yourself, that you could be paying your spouse, that you could be investing back into the business, that you could be putting into different deferred compensation plans like a 401k or a 401k, right? Like a SEP, IRA, like you could be building more infrastructure. You could be buying more assets through the business, but instead, because you don't want to incorporate, you're paying a crazy amount to the federal government that you don't necessarily need to be paying. So, that's one of the big things. And it's not because, there's something wrong with you. A lot of times it's just because you don't know. Like I said, you started the business from the bottom. You literally started from the bottom and now you're here. And a lot of times you just don't know. But, not knowing, I'm telling you, is an excuse, because oftentimes ignorance is one of the first ways of really being jacked up. So we got to know, and that's why you're tuned into this podcast. I would say the next big pitfall is you're not protected enough. Meaning your business is crushing it right now. You're bringing in, $10,000 a month that you're putting into your pocket, 20, 30, 40. In my client's case, sometimes 100,000 a month. But a lot of you guys don't even have life insurance. So I'm talking to my client and I'm saying, if something happened to you, how's this family going to survive? If something happened to you, what are they going to do? You're right now, you're the bread and the butter. You literally are bringing home the bacon. This is what everybody's surviving on. If something happens to you, have you thought about and considered what's going to happen to them? Right? So like a lot of times there's no safe and secure plan. Right? We just go through the day as if I'm going to live forever. And listen, there's like two things that are going to happen all the time: death and taxes. So you are going to die. You need to protect yourself. Now there basically, 3 different types of life insurance that's out there. Really talk to your agent or something. But listen, if you're making, $200,000 a year, 300,000, 500,000, $1 million a year plus, and you don't have protection or adequate protection, it's not what you want to do. Okay, it is not what you want to do. And listen, this is how the wealthy stay wealthy. This is one of the vehicles to where how wealthy people literally stay wealthy is life insurance. Believe it or not. Because at some point in time, this is like one of the only insurances that you're going to use. right? Like I look at my car insurance and stuff, and I'm like, damn, man, they should kick me back some money. I ain't have an accident. I ain't had nothing that I actually needed them for this past year. Like, why don't you kick me back at least half of what I paid you? Listen, you are going to need life insurance for sure. You're going to die. And so you want to make sure that you have insurances that can cover your family. You want to have insurances that can cover your business. And a lot of times you don't. And it's not necessarily because you're trying to avoid it or something. It's just like you may not just have put a lot of thought into it. But that is one of the biggest pitfalls because you want to protect yourself. Next, if you're making that type of money, one of the biggest pitfalls that I see is you don't have an estate plan. There's no trust, there's no will, there's no estate plan. Again, I just talked about life insurance, but there has to be a plan for succession, right? If something happens to you, especially if you're the breadwinner of the family, but what is the plan to actually pass on this incredible business that you have and maybe some of these assets that you have? And I will tell you from working with so many people, solopreneurs that have built really big businesses, they might be, first generation Americans that are here. They just started through grit and hard work and determination, and they got really good at this business like you probably have as well. But all of this technical stuff isn't there, or you just don't think that it's that important, and so you don't do it. Or you've heard of this before, but you're so inundated in the day-to-day to your business that you've never gotten around to it. Let me tell you, if you're making that type of money, please go out, pretty please, with a cherry on top. Go out and find an estate planner and put together an estate plan. We need a will and we need a trust. We need for you to not be owning all these things, and we need for your estate to be owning all these things. Man, if you looked up my name and you looked up my wife's name, and I don't own nothing. I, it'd be hard for you to find Jamil Frazier as the owner of anything. But I will tell you that our estate owns a lot. Our estate owns a lot of brokerage accounts, owns a lot of businesses, owns a lot of real estate. But Jamil Frazier, you're probably not going to find anything that I own. So you want to have a really good estate plan. You want to have an estate plan. Please, 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 please. So we talked about business budget. We talked about personal budget. We talked about emergency savings. We talked about starting one. We talked about tax deferred plans like 401ks. It's amazing how many people I talk to that make $200,000 plus a year and have no retirement. And when I say no retirement, I literally mean zero retirement. Zero. Zero. Not like, oh, I don't have that much. I only have 50,000 or 100,000. I mean zero. So one of the things that you want to do, if you haven't done already, is once you incorporate into, some sort of corporation, start paying yourself a little bit of a salary, right? Put yourself on payroll. Put maybe your spouse on payroll. Put the kids on payroll. Start giving yourself a little bit of salary and start contributing to deferred compensation plans. It's amazing how not only you can contribute up to a certain amount, but you as the owner of the business can have the business also contribute. And so you can really start to fund these retirement plans a lot heavier than the actual like normal person. And that's why even us, even with the different businesses and investments and all that stuff, man, I'm on payroll. My wife is on payroll, and we max out our 401ks every single year. And not only do we max it out, we put additional on top of that, right? So like talk to your financial team, but this is one of the areas to where I see people miss quite a bit. Okay, so incorporation, 401ks, estate planning, life insurance, emergency fund. These are all things that like the foundations. I mean, this is like bare minimum that we want to have, especially when you're making that type of money. Let me say this before we close out this episode. You want to build a team. One of the worst things that you can do is try to win this game of life, finances, building wealth on your own. Even me, I feel like I'm pretty good at investing in the stock market. I feel like I'm pretty good at analyzing real estate. I still have a team. I have a financial team, and I pay these people a lot of money every single year because you want to be able to attack problems or opportunities with a whole bunch of people. You don't want to be doing it just alone. And so, a lot of times when I'm working with you entrepreneurs or you business owners that are now starting to crush it, is you still don't have valuable people around you that can actually consult you and to guide you. It's like you want to take all the spelling tests on your own. I don't want to take any spelling tests on my own. I want to get all the smartest kids in the class around me, and I want to ask them, how the hell do you spell encyclopedia? Right? Like, how do you spell? How do you spell? How do you spell these really intense words? I don't want to know how to spell them, but I want Timmy and Johnny and Sarah and Jane and like all these people to just tell me, Jamil, this is how you spell it. So this is why you want to build a team, because you want to remain an expert in your business and the things that you do, and you want all of these smart people around you that are going to advocate for you and help you get to the next level. So I really wanted to give you guys some of the pitfalls that you likely are going to face, especially if you own a business and this is your first time really having a business that's doing well, and now you're starting to scale income. I'm telling you, these are the pitfalls. I want you to understand them, and hopefully by listening to this episode, you can start to set the foundation and move forward as you start building more generational wealth. Now, listen, if you've enjoyed this episode, go on and subscribe to the channel. Share this with other people who are like you, who are crushing it, but just need a little bit of guidance. And make sure to hit the comments and let me know which out of these 6 or 7 pitfalls that I just gave you, which one stood out the most and which ones are you going to go to work on right now. Until the next episode, be well. We'll talk to you soon.